One of the things that sort of has been sort of getting into my head more recently is that perhaps a lot of emergency management is a waste of time, in that nobody seems to want to pay for it. Nobody seems to take it very seriously. So perhaps we are better off just being like firefighters and building up, caches of resources and trucks and staff and sitting around and waiting for the next disaster. Because if nobody wants to pay for it, pay for planning, and nobody wants to actually change the way they do business, then perhaps that's not a bad methodology. The problem is emergency management gives lip service to preparedness and planning. And they never actually recognize that there's going to be a lot of organizations that don't want to plan, that aren't willing to plan, and will not make the investment in planning. So perhaps we should also recognize that there is a role for an emergency management response type capacity that would not be a first responder, but be a disaster responder that would be able to handle all the problems you could throw at it and come up with novel solutions. Because we don't do that now. FEMA is a great example of an organization which is a great check-writing agency. It's what they do. They're not a response organization. They don't have teams they can insert to do disaster relief. They do have the urban search and rescue teams, and they do have the disaster medical assistance teams, but those are not enough to actually respond to an entire disaster. I've been thinking for a long time about the need for a non-military disaster special forces model where we could actually take a 13-man team and insert them into a disaster environment and have them go literally from town to town fixing the problems they can while still being self-sufficient. So you'd insert them for a week or two and then extract them at another extraction point, and that multidisciplinary team would just go really from town to town, village to village, fixing the wells, making the population more sufficient, because there's, in environments like Katrina, there's just no way for us to attack the problem other than from the edges. And I just think that there's a need for us to have a response capability that is actually robust and self-sufficient and can actually just go in and solve the problems, both because I think it's needed, because I think we don't have that now, but it's expected that we do, and because so many organizations are not willing to invest the time and the money and the effort to actually make changes beforehand.